teams don't even care about what's going on right now. There's still so much drama in the NBA. They're just concerned about next week and the whole summer and who's going to win next year because there's so many players on the
Right.
move potentially, right? And some of the most recent talk is from hometown, our hometown. Toronto has been making a lot of noise in terms of making a big move, and we already made a big move that we didn't even see yet. Right? We already had a pretty great core in terms of players. Not really the highest names in terms of talents and the highest profile names in the league, but we were clicking to some degree, and we had a lot of close losses where we thought we were gonna still be able to tank, but still see some good potential from our players. And then we get Brandon
Right.
Ingram before the trade deadline, right? But now with all this talk of certain superstars potentially on the move, we seem to become one of these landing places. So, a couple of days ago, you heard that possibly Giannis may be interested in coming to Toronto. So, what do you think about that move for our Toronto Raptors?
Wow. Yo, bro, first of all, I like Giannis as a player, bro. Like he's like my favorite player. So I'm kind of biased in the sense that I would
Mm,
want him here, you know what I'm trying to say?
yeah,
So I
yeah,
might be a
yeah.
little bit biased. But obviously Scotty Barnes is probably gonna have to be a big vocal point of of, of any trade package, you know what I'm trying to say?
Hmm.
And now it comes down to that. Do we think Scotty Barnes is gonna be better than what he is now? And if so, how much better? Is he gonna be a
Yeah.
Giannis? Like, what's his ceiling? You know what I'm trying to say? And at this point, I think he's still going through that transitional period where it's kind of hard to tell. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Um, there's a lot of injuries this past season. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, there was no real like team chemistry this season.
Yeah.
So like I thought the Raptors were way better than their record this past season. I don't think the record reflects who they are when they're fully healthy.
Yeah.
So I say that to say that like it all depends, man. Besides that, look at it like, yo, do I think Scotty Barnes is going to be better? Scotty Barnes didn't really make any big strides this past season. He's still
Yeah.
shooting the ball pretty bad from three. You know what I'm trying to say? More of in a point guard role because quickly was out and stuff like that. But like, I don't. Right now, I'm gonna take Giannis. I don't know. It's a gamble. I know it's totally a gamble because Giannis is in his 30s now, so he's on the back end of his prime, whatever. But like, I'm taking that gamble, bro. And like in a way, outside of maybe Pirtle, you're kind of recreating the 1-2 punch in Toronto that Milwaukee had in the championship because I think there's some similarities between Chris Middleton and Brandon Ingram. And so you're kind of doing that, like, like a guy that can get his own shot, I'm trying to say, especially in the mid range and stuff like that, and open up the floor. And then you have Giannis, clearly. You just need probably like a stretch five, you know what I'm trying to say? You don't really need a
Hmm.
playmaking point guard. As you can see, the Bucks don't really have that. So I don't know. It all depends how it comes together, but if it comes down right, this Raptors team could be like top three next season. If we were to get Giannis, of course.
Yeah. Well, okay. So let me ask you this as a side question. Don't you think the team that we already have is potentially a top three team?
In the East, I'm not putting them ahead of New York, Boston,
You got to put
Cleveland.
them over Boston next year, though.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Okay, Boston next year, but even so, I don't know. I don't know. Boston is such a great team. I don't. Yeah, yeah. I guess I'll give the Raptors. Without Tatum. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, Indiana's still there, right? They're in the finals. So we got to give them a little bit of room.
Detroit.
Detroit is going to make some noise next year for sure. True.
So
Okay.
Milwaukee, if they stay
Yeah.
intact, but then there's no Lillard, so I guess I don't know. They'll probably regress a bit.
Yeah.
Philadelphia, we don't know like if Joel Embiid and Paul George
Ooh.
and they got what, the third pick, I think, third pick, second pick, third pick, or something like that in the draft. So you
Somebody
couple
let us
that
know in
with
the comments. Yeah.
so you couple that with them. That's what I'm trying to say. Like I don't think Scotty Barnes and Brandon
Mm,
Ingram move the needle like that with respect to being the top three in the East. I think we would be a playoff team for sure, but I don't know if it's a guaranteed like top three home court in the playoffs first round type of team, in my opinion.
yeah. You know what? The East is looking kind of stacked and getting better as we speak, right? Like we see, like although it seemed like a weak conference this year again,
I like.
like
Fuck.
like we acknowledge Detroit now for sure as a heavy team, right? As a strong defensive team. They had some injuries as well, right? We acknowledge the potential in the Raptors at least, right? Getting a new star and having played great basketball and having a good culture last year already, right? And having some close losses. You know, Philadelphia, just from the names alone, when they come back, if Embiid comes back healthy and, can play 50, 65 games next year, right? If we get a little something from Paul George and you already have Maxi, right? Like they're still a pretty great team as well in terms of at least names and talent wise, right?
Right. Right.
Indiana, you throw them in there because they're in the finals. Boston, you can never really write them off because even if Tatum's out, they're still going to have a good solid year at least, right? So the East is looking pretty tough. There's a lot of names in the league now. There's a lot of names that like the gap between players is becoming so finicky that I
Mm-hmm.
don't even think it's about skill. It's about like your speed or your height or your wingspan. Like it's really coming down to the point where like you have to micromanage how you go about picking your roster, right? And making it all
Facts.
gel together. So it's looking like a really close race between teams in both conferences essentially, right? So Cleveland's still there, right?
They're still there, bro. Like, bro, are you doing this trade between Giannis? Obviously, there's gonna have to be other pieces. Maybe Grady Dick. I don't know if RJ Barrett needs to be thrown in.
That's too much. That's
Too
too
much, eh?
much. There's the
Too much.
race between teams and just even players is too close for me to be like, okay, between this player and this player, the difference is 120 to 170. Nah, man. I wish I could have a roster of people making 130. Everyone. Like I don't want no that the league is gonna change again because like, Luka getting moved like that too. It's almost they're telling people no player is worth $300 million. At this point in time, like you have to spread the wealth a little bit more. The league has
Right.
become so saturated in terms of players that you're seeing it in the teams. You can't even like the differences are so small now. And it really just comes down to okay, if you're a good team, you're gonna make the playoffs. What do you have that you could use to shut down someone's good player, best player? It's literally like rock, paper, scissors at this point.
Don't kill me.
It
Yeah,
really is
that's
because
yeah.
if you have what it takes to crush a pair of scissors, like can you cover up the paper coming after you on the back end? And it's almost not even skill at this point no more because everyone's good. Everyone's shooting threes. Every team's playing the
Mm-hmm.
same way, right? So that the reason why I don't do the Giannis move is because he would be a pretty big liability in the playoffs. I feel like.
In what sense? Oh, you mean like that? He's one dimensional, like his scorer? Do you mean or?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's no counter to like the counter isn't big enough when it comes to him, right? Like if they shut down this, what can he do after that? You know what I mean? He's gonna pass the ball, then that's gonna depend on the players to make more shots. Like it's he's a great player. He's gonna do well in the season, but like when it comes down to playoff basketball, it may be a lot somewhat of a liability on the offensive end, not the defensive end. Defensive end will be great, but then the the backside is a little the door in the back is open a little bit more than the door in the front. That's just kind of how I see it when you're paying a player that much. Now, if you're paying them 130, for sure, take them because you'll get three other shooters with that money, right? But
Fair.
it's like you really have to find the most complete players now. That is like there can't be no gaps or weaknesses with players. If that player does have that one, and they need playing time, the other team's gonna exploit that till you lose. I saw that with New York City. Like New York figured out Jalen Brunson. I mean, the Pacers figured out Jalen Brunson and New York Knicks. No problem. They played great basketball,
Yeah.
right?
Fuck.
And they still figured them out because there's just that one weakness with their point guard, right? So that's why I wouldn't pay a player like Brunson a ton of money because he's gonna hurt me in some ways, right? Like it
Right.
has to be the most complete player that you can get with a special that specializes in something. All the bars have to be here with one bar really high. If you have one bar too low, you can't even consider some of those players.
But ironically enough, I'm just thinking top of my head right now, right? So forgive me a bit, but like, wouldn't Giannis be the best person that fits that criteria? Because if you look at the best players in the NBA right now, right? Jokic, right? His Achilles heel, defense. Luca, defense. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, I guess Shea plays offense and defense as well. LeBron's not
Hmm.
really that good at defense. You know what I'm trying to say? But Giannis scores 30 points a game on 60% shooting, right? Two-time defensive player of the year. You know what I'm trying. Sorry, two-time defensive player of the year. So he does both things very well. I get it on offense. Yes, I get it. Build a wall, stuff like that. Blah 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 blah. But like, who else could you get that can elevate your team to that status when like we're seeing guys like Jokic, like because they can't play defense, Cat can't play defense, like their team like they may drop 30 and 15, but like if you're if it's a layup, sorry, if it's a layup line on you, then like it's irrelevant at that point, no?
Yeah, yeah. It's tough. Like it's a tough one, but like the players that have to come in lieu of Giannis would have to be two-way players essentially, right? There's not really much on the table no more. Like I think Cleveland, I'm blanking on his name because Cleveland lost quite some time ago, but the pickup that they got from Atlanta, what's
Oh,
his name again?
Hunter, DeAndre
Hunter.
Hunter.
You
Yeah,
know what I
DeAndre
mean? You
Hunter.
need if you had I think a championship team would be five hunters and like you would win. Like because there's
Don't kill me.
very little gaps in his like he plays both ends of the ball and he's a sniper too. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
shoot, yeah.
So you won't lose much games when you have no holes on the defense and the offensive side. And he's not as paid as Giannis, right? And as long as the ball is being, you need like it's not even about the skill no more. You have to find unselfish players. You have to find lengthy players. You have to find tall players. You have to find
True.
smart players. You have to find hustle players, Caruso's and those. You know what I mean?
Intangibles,
Those are
yeah, a lot.
right
Yeah,
because all the other like as you just said. Oh, okay, well Shea does play both ends of the ball. Everyone on OKC plays both ends of the ball. They could score
that's
on you
crazy.
and
Yeah.
defend you, right? So there's no point in time where you're going to be able to take advantage of something, and that's what playoff basketball really boils
Mm,
down to. You'll catch me in the regular season, but
true.
when it comes down to like the micro managing of like they say it all the time. Like if someone, like you say you're boxing someone and someone has a wound, you punch the wound as many times as you can until they buckle, right? So
Right.
I don't
Right.
know. Giannis is like he's one of those stars that are becoming a black hole. To be honest,
Uh, but
he
okay, okay.
is for the money. For the money, he is.
For okay, yeah, that's fair. Yeah, because especially the supermax is crazy. But like,
Yeah.
if you're the Raptors, right? Like okay, first of all, I said like I'm biased, right? I like Giannis, whatever. So that's why like I'm picking him to join the team. Um, I'm not mad at the Raptors maybe playing a season out to see how Brandon Ingram and Scotty because who knows with with a bona fide scorer like Ingram, maybe Scotty can play a little bit better and maybe play more into his role and stuff like that because he
Hmm.
was playing well when Siakam was there. You know what I'm trying to say where he had a second focal point of the offense and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I'm not mad at looking at this team as it's constructed and going okay, let's see what we can do and maybe next year maybe trade for a star or maybe trade for a superstar or something like that. I'm
Hmm.
just speaking from a biased perspective. Um, but yeah, so like I guess you're with the Scotty and Ingram like tandem, or are you just saying like look somewhere else, like find another star to trade Scotty for?
I would keep Scotty because if and I would have him at point guard to be honest because he's what 6'8",
Mm,
6'9". That's like your Halliburton right there. That like he can do it right as long as he shot better. I think that's the one gap that he may have, but at the same time, like that has to be a threat at all times for you to be able to like play this X and O chess play. So if he discovered a 3-point shot, he's a keeper, right?
mm,
Brandon Ingram is like your second KD. Like he could play both ends. He's not the defensive stopper, but he'll give you trouble on the defensive end if he's hustling, right? He's like
good
another
point. Yeah,
Tatum. Like you know what I mean? We've seen Tatum shut down KD in Brooklyn Nets a few years back, right? So
true.
those two right there, that's where you start your pillars. I love Pirtle. Like I kid you not,
So
every team needs a player like that. That's like the Derek Whites. That's like the Carusos. That's like the Drew Holidays. The value you get for him, he does the things that most players don't want to do. The intangibles, the ones that don't really fill up the stat sheets, and he's not going to be a liability on the defensive end. He's going to get
good.
tons of boards, and I've seen him put down 34 and 15. That's insane. You know what I mean?
He has
And
yeah, he has the touch around the
he's a
rim and everything.
sleeper.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
So Those are those small things. Touch around the rim. Just knows how to clean up rebounds, right? Um, those three players are great. Grady Dick, we've seen a little bit of a spurt from him this year. If he became a little bit more defensive minded, I don't know. I can't recall how defensive minded he was, but we saw flashes of great moments with him. A couple 30-point games. We saw aggression. We saw assist making, scoring in stretches. Like what I mean. That could be your sniper. That really doesn't have if he is a good to great defensive player, maybe not great, but if he was a good solid defender, he could be in the rotation. He could come off the bench seventh or be the seventh player off the bench, sixth, seventh player off the bench, right?
Right.
I say we go somewhere else. If we have the tools to get something like Giannis, I think quickly and RJ are great assets to give to other teams to get to fill in the other gaps. To be honest, right? Because
Mm.
if you have Giannis on the court, that's one person. Pirtle can't shoot threes idle, and like that, that's two people on the court that can't shoot threes. You need it four.
Yeah.
You need four.
Yeah, yeah. No, yeah, no, that makes sense. So yeah, because the spacing would just be horrible. That'd be crazy. That'd be crazy work. So no, I definitely
Yeah,
hear you still. No, I hear what you're saying.
yeah. Now, yeah, yeah. When it comes to the Raptors, they have some choices to make, and I feel like you really have to look at it from an external, but also an internal point as well. I think I could see Scotty and Brandon working pretty well together,
Mm.
especially if Barnes was able to shoot the ball better, he would definitely be a good. They would complement each other. Proto would do his thing regardless, and then you fill in those
But
other two spots.
but the
Yeah.
same but the same concerns kind of have to be put now with Scotty to a certain extent. Obviously, Scotty's a better perimeter shooter
Yeah.
than Giannis, but
Yeah.
Scotty didn't shoot the ball well. I think he shot like top of my head. I think 31% from three. I
Oh, okay.
think. You know what I'm
Yeah.
trying to say? So like with Ingram in the lineup and Pirtle in the lineup, right? There's still cause for spacing issues because
Hmm.
if Ingram is relying to get to the basket or mid range to score, and guys can kind of sag off Scotty and stuff like that, that kind of clogs up the paint and stuff like that, especially with
Yeah.
Pirtle there. So like that's what I'm worried about to a certain extent. But yeah, Grady Dick would have to become like a more lethal shooter quickly. He can get hot sometimes. You know what I'm trying to say and stuff like
Hmm.
that. But like I said, let's play it out. You know what I'm trying to say. There are teams in the league that are kind of successful when they have a big that doesn't shoot, the three and stuff like that. Like for example,
Yeah.
Detroit from their 5 and 4 position, those guys don't shoot at all, but they know how to
Yeah.
cut properly and stuff like that. You know what I'm trying to say? So I guess it comes down to coaching and basketball IQ, I guess, for it to work. But yeah, no, but well, yeah, bro, I'm not mad at giving it a try. I'm definitely not mad at
Yeah.
giving it a try for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll be interesting. This offseason is gonna be real interesting for our hometown for sure.